Greetings, everybody. We're now having a look at the Volatility 75 index, and we are on the monthly chart. And just to recap, the last time we spoke about this particular index, we had mentioned that we have this very nice M structure, which has a neckline more or less at that point. And we also mentioned that ideally we want to see price heading back to the neckline to test it, and at that point where the neckline is where we would look for potential selling opportunities, right? That's the last thing we said the last time. Before we continue, I just want to add an actual neckline to the structure over here. Just bear with me. So we could say that's our neckline. And guys, at this point over here, we saw that price broke to the bottom side of that neckline and then went back up to the neckline to test it and then pushed further down, right? At this point in time, it is my belief that price is likely to continue to push further down to around this level. Why do I say so? That is because we have this M structure. It started at this level, and ideally we want to see it end more or less at this level over here, right? Having said that, can you also guys see that we have this level over here, or rather price is at this level over here, and this level is actually a very strong level of support at this point over here. Let me just actually mark that point because it's very much important. And guys, as much as I'm saying that at this point in time chances are that the market will continue to push further down, just as I said guys, remember that the market is at a very strong level of support at this point in time, and what may possibly happen at this point is we may get a reversal of sorts, maybe to this level over here, right, or even to this level over here, and then at these points we might potentially see the market push further down, right? Anyway, from here what I'm gonna do guys is head down to the weekly chart. Let's see, here we are on the weekly chart. Now that we are on the weekly chart, can you guys see that actually, let me just zoom in a bit or zoom out a bit. Can you guys see that this level over here, as I said, is a very strong level of support, and at this point over here we might get a reversal of sorts, right? Anyway, let's continue and let me just zoom in a bit, right? So what else do we see guys on the weekly chart that we should be paying attention to? Let's have a look. So in regards to the weekly chart, we can see, as I said guys, that the market is in a downward trajectory, right? And as much as that's the case, we also have, if we can just zoom in a bit, we also have this very nice M structure over here, which also has a neckline at that point. And as I've said guys multiple times to you, that ideally we want to see price breaking to the bottom side of that neckline and then heading back to that neckline to test it, and should price revert to around this level, that's where we will look for those potential selling opportunities, right? And just also keep in mind that I said that the market currently is at a very strong level of support and that we might get a reversal of sorts, right? Now that we have this M structure, price may revert to the neckline of this M structure, which is over here guys, right? Or it may actually continue to move further up to reach, let me just zoom out a bit, to reach this level over here, because it's also a very strong level of resistance. And another level that price may potentially head to is this level over here, which is the neckline of that huge M structure that we spoke about on the monthly chart, right? Anyway, before we continue guys, I'm just gonna add a neckline for that smaller M structure that we have on the weekly chart. So just bear with me guys, and we could say more or less that our neckline is over here, right, more or less. And just remember guys, I always say this all the time, but it's very important, necklines are not necklines, they are more areas, right? Necklines are not actual necklines, they are more areas. Anyway, from here what I'm gonna do guys is head down to the daily chart, and here we are on the daily chart. Let's have a look, let's have a look, let's have a look. I'm just gonna move this line to around this level over here, right? And I'm gonna zoom out a bit, and the first thing that I'm going to do guys in regards to the daily chart is to add my daily channel. Let's see, how would I add my daily channel in this regard? Let's have a look, let's have a look, let's have a look. Let's see. Okay, I would add my daily channel for now in this manner. Just bear with me. And just remember guys that we just need to ensure that whatever drawings we add to our charts are as accurate as can be, just to ensure that ultimately when we do execute, our execution is also very much accurate as much as possible, right? There we go. So we could say that that's our daily channel, and on the daily chart we are also on the, or rather we are in a downward trending market, as you guys can see. Remember guys, on the weekly chart we spoke about how we have this M structure which has a neckline at that point, and I said to you guys that ideally we want to see the market, after having broken to the bottom side of the neckline, coming back to that neckline to test it, and at this point is where we might potentially look for those selling opportunities. Having said that, remember I also spoke about those other 2 points at the top where the market could possibly head to. Remember guys, right? But at this point in time, the most important level is this level over here. Why is this the most important level? That's because it's the neckline of this M structure, and it's also a very strong level of resistance, and that's because we've had multiple rejections at this point over here, and should price from where it is head back, or rather head up to this level, at this level is where we would look for those potential selling opportunities. We're not just gonna buy, we're gonna look for more reasons for why at this level we should potentially be selling, right? Anyway, let's proceed guys. So what else do we see guys now that we are on the daily chart? On the daily chart, as much as we have this M structure which we actually identified on the weekly chart, we also have at this point an inverted head and shoulders pattern. I hope you guys can see that. Let me just actually move my chart a bit so you guys can see exactly what I'm referring to, and let me just redraw it. We have this inverted head and shoulders pattern. I hope you guys can see that, right? And we can also see that this is the head, or rather that's the left shoulder, this is the head over here, and this is the right shoulder, right? And this particular pattern also has a neckline at that point, and this neckline also acts as a very strong level of resistance, right? So head and shoulders patterns are very much similar to W structures in that when it comes to inverted head and shoulders patterns, right, where we have the left shoulder here, the head here, and the right shoulder there, the neckline is there, right? Ideally we also want to see price breaking to the upside of that neckline, coming back to that neckline to test it, and if it does so guys, at this point is where we would look for those potential buying opportunities. Can you guys see that guys? So should price from where it is head up to this level, to around this level, and it breaks it, right, in order for us to buy, we actually have to wait for the market to head back to the neckline, and at that neckline is where we might look for those potential buying opportunities, right? Having said that guys, I would not buy should price break to the upside of that neckline and then come back to retest that neckline. The reason why I would not buy is because guys, let me just actually add my neckline so I can make this illustration properly. Right, so that's the neckline of our inverted head and shoulders pattern. The reason why I wouldn't buy should price break to the upside, come back to the neckline to test it, is because we have this very strong level of resistance, which is also the neckline of this huge M structure, and it's also the level at which I said we might potentially be looking for selling opportunities. So the distance between guys, the distance between this area over here, let me just actually draw it properly, this area over here and this area over here is too little for me to actually consider buying, or buying actually, yeah, at this point, right? So I would rather wait for the market to, that's if it closes above this neckline, right, and then it comes back to the neckline to test it. I would rather wait for the market to head up to this level again, which is, as I said guys, the neckline of this M structure, and at this point is where I would look for those potential selling opportunities. Another reason why I say so is because remember guys, on the monthly chart we are still in that huge M structure, and the market, as I said, needs to continue to push further down, right? Remember that, just keep that in the back of your mind, right? Anyway guys, what else do we see in regards to the chart of Volatility 75? At this point I don't see much, so what I will do now is head down to the H4 chart. Just bear with me guys, let's have a look. Just Just hang in there, guys. I can see that I seem to be having some slow network. Let's see. Come on, phone. Come on. All right, here we are on the H4 chart, guys, and then I'm just gonna zoom in. Just bear with me, guys. Let's see. Let me just zoom in a bit. Right, and just to recap, guys, just to recap, remember, on the daily chart we spoke about how we have that inverted head and shoulders pattern, and we said that the market may head up to the neckline of this inverted head and shoulders pattern, and it may break it, come back all the way to the neckline, only to push further up to around this level. And if it does so at this level is where we would look for those potential selling opportunities, right? Anyway, from here what I'm going to do is zoom in a bit and let's have a look at the H4 chart. So what do we see, guys, on the H4 chart, right? On the H4 chart I can see that we have at this point that candlestick. It is a bearish candlestick with a relatively small body and a long lower wick, and what it tells us, guys, is that at the bottom where that wick ends, there's a lot of liquidity stuck there, and liquidity, as I always say, represents money that needs to be triggered by the market at one point or another, right? So as much as guys, remember, we have this inverted head and shoulders pattern, right, and the anticipation at this point in time is that the market from where it is will continue to move further up. What may potentially also happen is that we might see price actually move further down to grab that liquidity at that level, and then potentially move up to around this level, which is the neckline of the inverted head and shoulders pattern, and also a very strong level of resistance. And that's because we've had multiple rejections at that point. Yeah, can you guys see that? I hope you guys can see that, right? So what else do we see, guys, that we should be paying attention to on the H4 chart? As much as we have this candlestick over here, which is a liquidity candlestick, we have two more at this point. I hope you guys can see that we have two more smaller liquidity candlesticks at this point, and they too are carrying liquidity at the bottom where they end. So there is plenty of scope for the market to push further down from where it is, right? Anyway, let's continue. In fact, before we continue, I'm just gonna mark those candlesticks, those two smaller candlesticks over here. There we go, right? Anyway, let's continue. I'm just gonna zoom in a bit, and guys, what else do we see here on the H4 chart? On the H4 chart, we can see that we also have this very nice W structure, and it also has a neckline at that point, right? So should price from where it is actually close above that neckline, similar with the bigger M and W structures on the bigger time frames, what we would do is wait for the market to head back to the neckline, and at this point is where we would look for potential buying opportunities. And our take profit should be this level over here, which is, guys, remember, it is the neckline of that inverted head and shoulders pattern that we have on the daily chart, and it's also a very strong level of resistance because we've had multiple rejections at that level. Having said that, guys, in fact, before we continue, let me just add a neckline for that structure. There we go. All right, that's the neckline of our H4 W structure. Having said all this, guys, remember, as much as I'm saying that should price break to the upside of the neckline, come back to the neckline, at this point is where we should look for those potential buying opportunities, and our take profit should be this level. Remember, guys, that we also have those points at the bottom where I said we have these candlesticks that are liquidity candlesticks that are carrying all of that liquidity, right? And what may possibly also happen is that price may break to the upside, come back to the neckline to test it, reject the neckline, push further down to grab the liquidity at this level, and then continue to push further down to grab the liquidity at that level again, only to continue to push further up. And this would be a very nice W structure. Can you guys see that? It would be a very nice W structure. I hope you guys can see that, right? So at this stage, what we're doing is just speculating, and I'm also just showing you some of the possible outcomes that we may experience in as far as volatility 75 goes, right? But yeah, that's my analysis really, guys, for the most part, especially in regards to the H4 chart. At this point in time, I think the most important thing to do is to wait for the market to close above this level. If it does so, we would then wait for the market to head back to the level to test it, and at this point is where we would look for potential buying opportunities, potential buying opportunities. And if we do indeed find any good potential, or rather any good buying opportunities, our take profit would be this level over here, which is a very strong level of resistance, and the neckline of that huge inverted head and shoulders pattern that we spoke about on the bigger time frames, right? So that is it, guys, as far as my analysis goes. Just remember to practice good money management, and just make sure that you always do confirmation before buying or selling. And peace out, guys.